tell us a little bit about like where you grew up. What did your parents do for a living as you were growing up?
Yeah, so my father was a facility director for a place that individuals with mental retardation lived with and literally lived on the grounds. So growing up, my best friends were, Chucky and Dennis. And I mean, I could go on. There's probably 7 or 8 of them. And every day we'd go for bike rides, and every day we'd go in the summer for breakfast at a local restaurant named Costa's. I mean, it was just, that was my thing. So I didn't know anything was wrong. Those were my friends. That's who I grew up with. That's who I rode on my bike. And,
Wow.
the one thing that I remember vividly from my childhood was because they were my best friends. When I got to high school, there was this initiative that they were working on where they wanted to get people into the community, and get them out working. And so one of the individuals was working at my high school, and a couple of kids were picking on him. And I was my senior year, and I lost. I mean, I lost my cool. Lost everything because that was my best friend. And
Right.
I was, a wrestler and a football player, and I was, fairly built. And let's just say I made my presence known, and I made my feelings known pretty well. And I'll never forget it. My principal, I looked out of the corner of my eye when I had 2 people up in the air against the lockers. And I looked down and saw the principal standing there. So when it was all over, I walked down the hall and I walked in his office, and I had my head down and I said, "Would you like to see me?" And he said, "No, not at all, Jeff. Have a great day." I said, "Oh, thank you." And I walked out. But definitely, I mean, that was something that certainly shaped who I am for the best. I mean, it was an incredible experience for me, and certainly shaped who I am, and shapes how I raised my daughter. And, we all have something special to offer regardless of a disability or anything else for that matter. My mother was a housewife and a homemaker, and took care of my butt and drove me around and did everything that she needed to do to make our family run and tick. And, I was playing 4 or 5 sports at any one time. So she deserves all kinds of medals. And we've lost her in 2015, but certainly one of the nicest human beings that I've ever met in my life. Generous, giving, caring. I feel like certainly I got my mom's heart. There's no question about that for sure. So
Jeff,
wow.
where did you grow up at?
In Evansburg, Pennsylvania. So it's smack between Johnstown and Altoona, and kind of out in western Pennsylvania. And it's a very small town. I mean, I think I remember seeing on the car wash when I was living there, population was like 3,300 or something. So not a big area, certainly a lot of farmland. We grew up, on the farms and doing that kind of stuff, and hard workers and blue collar, and just, I loved it. I think it was a great town to grow up in, very sheltered. And then I went on to Juniata College, which is in Huntington, Pennsylvania. So not much bigger. Again, very sheltered, outside of state college, and a lot of farmland. And so I certainly grew up learning work ethic and just caring for others and helping others in need, for sure.